Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us on another beautiful package of Weekend Report. For an outlook of our package tonight, federal government directs flying of Nigeria's flag at half-mast in honor of late Queen Elizabeth II. The National Committee Against Torture inaugurated to end menace among law enforcement agencies. On our discussion segment tonight, the lingering ASU strike and its implications on the educational sector will be our focus. My guest is already in the studio, plus updates from the world of sports and, of course, weather. This and more shortly. Please stay with us. I am Iyabode Olorunshola. The federal government has directed that the Nigerian flags in the country and at other diplomatic missions across the globe to fly at half-mast from Sunday 11th and Monday 12th of September in honor of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who died on Thursday. A statement by Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the decision is to specially mourn the British Queen, who was also leader of the Commonwealth of Nations community. The statement added that the Queen was an iconic leader who exhibited great strength of purpose throughout her reign in the United Kingdom and as head of the Commonwealth. She fostered great stability and unity among nations. Under her leadership, Nigeria and Britain enjoyed exceptionally warm relations, making Britain as home to a large number of people of Nigerian origin, thriving in different walks of life. And for some of the news that made headlines during the week, the House of Assembly of Kwara State has called for speed breakers on Shao Malete Junction and Okolowo Jeba Eyankorin Road to reduce road mishaps along the route. Kendi Omolosho reports that this was part of plenary at the House of Assembly.
Okolowo Jeba Eyankorin Road is a federal road linking Kwara with Oyo and Niger states. The frequent occurrence of accidents, which has claimed many lives, is a major concern for Babatunde Kwaku, who called for the need to construct speed breakers to reduce the speed of motorists at Shao Malete Junction. Lawmakers in their submissions charged road transport unions to move motor parks from roadsides to more secure locations to avoid collateral damage in the event of accidents.
Urge the governor to direct the Ministry of Works and Transport to liaise with the Union of Road Transport Workers, whose motor parks are located along this corridor, for a joint enlightenment on the need for caution and adherence to road safety regulations.
It's not about speed breakers alone. There are some warnings that cautions that we alert people that maybe in the 50 to 100 meters away to the place, people will know definitely that something like a speed breaker is available, is in front of them, so that they will limit their speed.
There is a junction that leads to the state-owned university, where on daily basis we have a lot of traffic going to the university and coming out of the university. So many casualties in the recent past has happened as a result of the lack of speed breaker in that area.
Within the resolutions of the House, Speaker Yakubu Danladi Saliu called for collaboration between the Ministry of Works and Transport and Federal Road Maintenance Agency for a lasting solution to ensure safety on the Shao Malete Okolowo Jeba highways. In another development, the report of the House Committee on Lands, Housing and Urban Development on the proposed filling station and gas plant at Ifesuakpo community at Asadam, Igbejila, was laid before the House by its chairman, Felix Awudiji, representing Irepodun constituency. The committee resolved that the matter be laid to rest since the two parties agreed to live in peace in the interest of the general public. Kehinde Omolosho, NTA News.
The Ilorin Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC, has arrested a 29-year-old Chinese known as Gang Deng for suspected illegal mining in Ilorin, Kwara State. Deng, who was arrested on Friday, 9th of September 2022, was found to be in possession of crude minerals without a mining license. According to a statement signed by EFCC Head of Media and Publicity Wilson Uwujaren, a 12-load of a mineral suspected to be lepidolite was recovered from him. The suspect will be charged to court as soon as investigations are concluded. Yellow fever is a virus caused by a species of mosquito known as Aedes aegypti with symptoms like fever, headache, jaundice, muscle pain, vomiting, and fatigue. According to the World Health Organization, a small proportion of patients who contract the disease develop severe symptoms, and approximately half of them die within 7 to 10 days. With the recent alert by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention in 10 states, how prepared is Kwara State against a possible outbreak? Olajide Bello finds out.
The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention has announced 14 deaths in 10 states from suspected cases of yellow fever between January to July 2022. The affected states include Abia, Bayelsa, Benue, Imo, Kaduna, Kebbi, and Yobe having 1 case each, while Katsina and Taraba have 2 cases, and Zamfara is topping with a total of 3 cases. Now, the question is, what is the statistics of yellow fever cases in Kwara State, and how alert is the state against an outbreak?
It is very, very important to prevent rather than to cure, and that is where the government of the day will come into it. It is very, very essential for the government to carry out massive mosquito elimination.
Is yellow fever preventable, and how can it be treated?
Yellow fever is treated symptomatically. When they present, whatever the presentation, you try to treat the person as the symptoms appears. But there's no cure.
The Nigerian Public Health Institute says a cumulative total of 1,179 suspected cases of yellow fever was reported in 416 local government areas between January 1st and July 31st, 2022, with male cases put at 637, making 54%, and 542 females, accounting for 46%. And it's been Olajide Bello reporting for NTA News.
In preparation to bring in my guest, the indefinite strike embarked on by the Academic Staff Union of Universities is taking a twist as some Nigerians residents in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, are in support of no work, no pay, while the affected students are appealing for an immediate call-off. Wahid Bibiri is our guide.
I don't see a reason why a nation as big, as huge as Nigeria would have her educational sector shut down.
If ASU has taken a stand, which they feel is unbendable, the federal is in a position to compromise, negotiate properly.
Most of us are no longer interested in school. They are feeling like school is scam. Then some other people are now going into, they are not doing fraud and the likes. But we plead the government to please find something to do.
These people's reactions over the indefinite strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, is a sign that everyone is tired of the frustrating situation. The strike has no doubt caused a major setback to the education sector and investors alike, as students that are supposed to graduate do not know their fate, while those that wrote JAMB are in the dark. I stumbled on an undergraduate, Odunayo Oluwapelumi, who is frustrated already due to strike, and pray God to intervene.
We've been on for like 6 months. Some have gotten pregnant, some have married. So like the education is just slack, and it's not encouraging. It's not encouraging the people coming under us to come to go to school.
But then, how long can this deadlock last?
So while it is the right of ASU to go on strike, maybe for justifications that they have identified, it is also the entitlement of the federal government to assert its right of not paying for the period that these gentlemen were not at work.
Federal government has to sacrifice. Education should be given the priority it deserves. We know that things are difficult even for federal government at this moment. But one thing we must know is that we must be able to cut down on some other things.
I think they need to do more on the part of the government than ASU at this stage.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities is currently on industrial action due to lack of compromise between the union and government. Abdul Wahid Bibire, NTA News.
Thank you, Abdul Wahid Bibire, for that report. It has set the tone for our discussion tonight. And just like I told you earlier, my guest is in the studio. He is also a stakeholder, a father, and an unbiased umpire. He is a journalist of repute and is the bureau chief of Punch newspapers here in Kwara State. Good evening, sir. Prince Tunde Oyekola.
Good evening, viewers.
Thank you for coming on Weekend Report.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so we have this very crunchy issue that is biting everyone. Since the strike began in February 14, our children have been at home and they have been to the table to and fro with issues not being resolved. What is your perception of this?
Well, from my own point of view, I think both the ASU and the federal government, they have been at loggerheads on some issues. And as at last Monday, I think there are about 8 issues, maybe laid down by ASU, that the federal government should resolve. One of the issues is the signing and adoption of the June 2022 draft agreement between the ASU and the federal government. Then the issue of maybe release of 170 billion for the implementation of one of the aspect of needs. Maybe once release of 170 billion for an aspect of needs, then release of 50 billion naira for payment of and allowance by the lecturers. Increment in salary is also one of them. Then the payment of maybe the signing of that the government should wade in the draft that maybe guiding the NUC, the National Universities Commission, on the maybe acceptance of on granting licenses to private universities. Yeah, especially by the states.
Okay.
Then the payment of 6 months salary.
Okay.
Maybe when the ASU are not, the lecturers are not at work. So those are the issues.
Okay. So what is your view?
Well, the federal government has set up many committees, at least 3 committees, and as at Monday, the government has not maybe told the nation that it has maybe accepted the findings of those committees or the submissions of those committees. And as at Monday, what the federal government has done is only increment in salary, which the ASU, the lecturers, said is not acceptable to them. So, well, my view on the issue is that the 2 major bodies, that's the federal government and the ASU, they should find a way of maybe resolving the issue a midway. The government should grant them maybe some concessions, while the ASU should also sacrifice some things out of
Who do you think is not being sacrificial in these terms? Is it ASU or government? Who is not doing the right thing? Is it government that is calling ASU off, or is it ASU that is heady with the federal government?
Well, the two of them have maybe they have faults in the crisis, because.
What is the fault of ASU?
Well, the fault of ASU is that they don't want to grant any concession to the government.
Okay.
And the government in return doesn't want to maybe accede to their demands. So
okay.
that's why the crisis is lingering.
Okay, so they are both at fault now.
Both of them are at fault. Both the government and ASU.
Okay.
Because this life is give and take.
Okay.
The ASU should be able to sacrifice some things, while the government too should be able to give them something.
Okay, but the federal government now has done a salary increment. What has ASU given in return?
Well,
what's the sacrifice?
That salary increment is one of the 8 points. 8 points disagreement between them.
The renegotiations of the 2019 agreement has also been concluded.
Well, the renegotiation has not been concluded from my own point of view.
Okay.
Because ASU is maybe ASU requested for 150% increment in salary.
Yes.
And 23.5% was granted just last Monday.
Yes.
And you know that I think the government should let them know and know what percentage they have agreed on, and so that the two bodies should agree, should reach an agreement on what maybe the government wants to give them.
Okay, so now that ASU is not satisfied with the increment that government has, the shift that the government has made, ASU is not ready to shift any ground?
No, there are other issues.
Yes.
If the government has granted them maybe concessions on other issues,
yes,
maybe that salary increment maybe can be renegotiated.
Okay.
The two bodies can renegotiate that salary increment.
Okay.
Maybe to higher percentage, but it cannot be lower. You know, the government has announced its own offer,
yes,
of 23.5%, which ASU members said is not maybe acceptable to them. The government, you know, the government should be able to, the two of them should meet and renegotiate, so that, you know, they will reach a point whereby the two bodies will agree.
Okay, let's talk about this no work, no pay. ASU is insisting that they must be paid for the period within these 6 months they are sat at home, yes, because some of them claim that even while they are on strike, they are still conducting research and doing humanity works. So they demand that they should be paid. When the Constitution says that no work, no pay, what do you think?
Well, the ASU is claiming that it is maybe it is not. The ASU is claiming that though its members are not teaching students, that it is only that they are not doing that. They are doing other things.
I think that's their primary assignment.
Well,
their primary
assignment is to teaching, research, and maybe community service.
Yes, but their primary assignment is to teach, and they have left that one.
Well, so the Constitution says that there is an aspect of the Constitution which says that if you don't work, you not get paid. But this issue, you know, this thing lingers because maybe the government is trying to capitalize on that, so that the government knows that it will not pay the salary of the lecturers while they are on strike. But that notwithstanding, maybe that is the reason why the government did not take prompt action when the strike was declared. So I think the two of them, the two.
What do you think about the no work, no pay policy that government is insisting? The vox pop that we just saw on this report now, yes, you had people, you know, agreeing to a no work, no pay system.
Well, I don't align with the government on that. They have to maybe meet them and agree on certain.
So if they agree for the 6 months, yes, what is the implication for Nigeria and other agencies? who are also going on
Well,
strike?
it will encourage others if they pay, if the government pays.
So that means that it will encourage others to go on strike.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think is the implication
but what
of
the
that
government should
when
do
the whole sector
is to
is going
call
on
them
strike?
and maybe tell them that they should maybe have they should concede certain months instead of maybe granting them the 6 months.
Then they are going against the constitution. Don't you think that is illegal?
Well, they are going against the constitution, but that's not the first time the government is the people, either the people or the government is going against the constitution. So they have to.
Do you advocate going against the constitution?
Well, I don't advocate it. That is because obey the constitution is the rule of law. You know, one should obey the rule of law, and obey the rule of law. We guarantee peace. But that's notwithstanding, in this issue, the government should concede some months, and maybe ASU too should concede some months. That's my own take on the issue.
Okay. If they concede those months, don't you think SANU and NASU too will demand to be paid for the months that they have been off?
Well, SANU and NASU, also went on strike.
Yes.
I think
for 5 months.
I think what is good for the Uganda is good for the geese.
Okay.
So,
do you think the federal government has that money to pay these people?
Well, I believe the government has money to pay the people.
Okay.
Though the government is complaining of a shortage of funds, but there are, the government has to look for means of maybe getting the funds to resolve this issue.
So do you think if other bodies that want to go on strike also go on strike, do you think the federal government will be able to meet up of paying those who go on strike and then being paid for sitting at home?
Well, this is not the first time that bodies and associations will go on strike.
Okay.
And the government has been
that law came up because federal government discovered that
the law has been on for quite some time.
Yes.
I know that some associations,
yes,
some unions,
yes,
went on strike maybe about 2-3 years ago, and the government has paid them. So what is good for the Uganda is good for the geese.
Okay, so you advocate that they should be paid.
Well, this issue, from my own point of view, the strike is prolonged by the government, and not the ASU.
It is not the government that is on strike that is calling the strike. It is ASU that is calling the strike.
But the government has to call them and resolve with them.
Okay.
On time, so
I agree with you on that.
So that they would not maybe prolong the strike. But the government refused to call them. Even the government refused to take action, because there was a time the president said that they should that the chief of staff and the minister of labor, they should take up the thing. He gave them maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but unfortunately nobody acted.
Okay, so now what is your advice? What is the way forward?
Well, the way forward now is that the two of them, they should make concessions. The ASU should be ready to sacrifice, while the government too should be able to concede to some of their demands.
I'm with you on that one. Okay, so what about our children, the education sector? Don't you think they have lost more than enough?
Well, even the country has lost a lot of maybe valuable things in that strike, because this issue affected the government, the parents, the students, and even the lecturers. So everybody is affected by the strike. But what some students now, even in Ilorin here, some have maybe be able to establish maybe some businesses. Like in Ilorin here, somebody established a POS and call it ASU strike. In Sokoto, somebody one of the students
them have gone into crime.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming, sir. We really appreciate you. Time is against us, and I wish we could have been able to take more questions. Thank you for coming on Weekend Report, sir.
Well, my advice to the government and the ASU is that they should find a way of maybe resolving this, because internationally this strike is affecting the university system.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Within the last 15 minutes, we have been talking to Prince Tunde Oyekola on this extended ASUU strike and the way forward. And moving ahead on weekend reports now, one of the undesirable practices sometimes indulged in by law enforcement agencies and insurgent group is the use of torture to obtain confessions. Now there is a renewed drive by the federal government to outlaw the practice by reconstituting the National Committee Against Torture. Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, says it is part of Nigeria's obligations under the United Nations Convention Against Torture. Members of the committee are drawn from security agencies, Nigerian Bar Association, and civil society groups. And now we take Sport Tidbits by Fumilayo Familoni.
Anthony Joshua has been tipped to face WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury in an all-British heavyweight match in December, and former opponent Alexander Usyk has offered to help Joshua train for the fight against Fury. The fight is expected to take place at the end of this year, with the undefeated Fury set to go into the bout as the overwhelming favorite to claim the spoils against his longtime rival. A bout between Fury and Joshua will not be blocked by an obligation on Fury's part to face a mandatory challenger, with the WBC having confirmed that it won't be open to the interesting possibility of a British heavyweight battle in the near future. The Nigerian winger Samuel Chukwueze and Peter Olayinka has been nominated for UEFA Conference League Goal of the Week award after they were on target for their respective teams in the UEFA Europa Conference League. The duo was listed alongside Hassan Ali Kadrim of Istanbul Başakşehir and Wouter Burger of FC Basel for the award. The winner of the Europa Conference League Goal of the Week will be decided via voting by fans. Fumilayo Familoni, NTA News.
And this is where we wrap it up on Weekend Report tonight. Thank you for being a part of it. Next week is another date. I leave you with the weather forecast for tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Good evening.